Welcome to Resume the Podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Page, and I'm here to spread the message that you can, in fact, be happy in your career. I'm a former executive recruiter turned career coach, and I am obsessed with learning about why people have chosen their career, what led them to that decision, and how they achieved happiness in the process. So, come join the ongoing conversation that exposes you to career paths of all origins with one thing in common: happiness. So, press play and let's resume the conversation with this week's episode. Our guest today is Jacklyn Strominger. She has been passionate about helping people for over 3 decades. And after 20 years in the magazine publishing industry, she became an entrepreneur. And in 2013, she started her coaching and training programs for women and men on how to pursue their passions and create the life they desire. Doesn't that sound just lovely? Jacklyn has made it her passion and her mission to help others take charge of their lives and make changes to become better versions of themselves. And as a mentor, she helps others increase their inner and outer confidence, take leaps, and take charge of their lives. She is there for her clients to help them through the highs and lows of change. Jacklyn, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Courtney. It is so great to be on. I've been listening to your podcast and I've been absolutely loving the people. So it's been really it's an honor to be on. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I know we had a couple tech issues right before we hopped on, and Jacklyn was very patient with my lack of technological prowess. So thank you for your patience as always. Okay, so I like to start off asking everybody the question: if you're at a dinner party or if you're out with friends and someone asks you, what do you do? What would you say?
So I tell people that I help people level up their life.
And what's the response to that normally?
So it's like, what do you mean by leveling up? And usually what I will say is, so many of us get up every day and we are not living our lives to our fullest potential or what we want to be. And so I help people see what their potential is and help them really create a vision for their dreams and help them come to fruition.
How is that normally received? Are people, ooh, that's cool? Is it like a positive or negative? Yeah. How does that land with people?
Sometimes, oh, I think I could actually need to talk to you, or tell me more about that. So I've had a lot of people say, oh, I'm not living up to what my dreams are. And do people really focus on their dreams, or is that something that people really do? And I'm like, yes, people have dreams. And if that's what you're thinking about, let me help you have them come to fruition. And we also end up talking about, if they're saying, what do you mean by that? It also sometimes leads to, I'll give the example of a lot of people get up in the morning and they go to a job or they go to a career or something that they're working in. And it really might not be their passion. It might bring them money, but it's not bringing them happiness. Because money, it does not buy happiness. And so I help people find what they really love to do, or take their passion and make it turn into profit. Take that and put them together. Because we spend so much time at our work, it should be something that we're doing that makes us feel good. The worst thing to ever hear, I cannot stand this, is like when someone says, oh my God, I just can't stand going into work. Work should be something that you enjoy doing. It should be something that you're proud of and that you want to do, but not just for the paycheck. It should be more than just the money, I believe.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that was one of the reasons that when you reached out to me or I reached out to you, I don't even remember who reached out to who, but I was like, oh, this is awesome because it's very much in line with what I do as well. And I just want to side note this, that I feel like there is sometimes this competition or whatever. And I really like to reframe competition into like collaboration, as opposed to, I'm a career coach. You do a lot of business coaching. There's a lot of similarities there. And I had someone ask, why would you have another career coach like on your podcast? It's because we offer different things. We're coming from 2 different places, and your clients will resonate with you for different reasons than mine with me. So that was just something that kind of came up while I was preparing for this, and someone had asked me, and I just wanted to throw that in there because I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that there's no reason to not be happy in your career. And it's a big problem. A lot of people are not happy in their careers. And again, one of the reasons that I started this podcast was just to talk to people who happen to be happy in their careers.
Right.
So I want to go back and ask you about like how your career started, where it started. So what was your first job out of college, or what did you study in college?
First of all, I just actually want to go back to what you're saying about coaches, because honestly, one thing that I think that's really important for people to understand and have the mindset come from the mindset of abundance. This is the more that we can do things together, the more things can come in. So that's why I love collaboration. So I just wanted to share that too. So my career started funny. I was actually having this conversation with my daughter. I have a 17 and a half year old and I have a 15 and a half year old. And my 17 and a half is we're looking at schools. And I was telling her that I went to college. I thought when I went to college, I was going to go into something to do with advertising, because I was a latchkey kid and I must have watched more television than I even would ever want my children to watch. But I also knew every single commercial. Like, you mentioned a commercial and I can probably recite the jingle or whether it was a good commercial or a bad commercial, like I could dissect it. And so I thought, I want to go into like advertising because I know this business. So I go to college, and while I was there, I decided I actually wanted to shift, and I had some internships, and I got into magazine publishing, and I wanted to get into consumer marketing or circulation as I called it back then, because it was right brain and left brain coming together. So I was like, okay, I want to do this. It's got the creative side, it's got the analytical side, and this is my brain. So I did that. I got into magazine publishing. I had that dream job. So I thought, but what I didn't have was a really good manager or mentor. And with my first job. And so I found my next job in magazine publishing, and I moved up. And again, I was doing well. I was doing great. I loved what I was doing. But yet there was always, every step of the rung up, I still was missing something. I was missing interacting. I was missing somebody else who could mentor me to something else. So I was always searching. But I had a great career in magazine publishing, I loved it. But as I was going through my career and as I was moving up, I wanted to bring more to the people that I was managing. I felt like there was just something missing in that space, right?
Like you were like floating through and doing okay, but like without something supporting you underneath.
Yep. Yeah. And even though I had direction, I felt like I didn't have direction.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's like wandering, but not aimless wandering, but you're still wandering.
Still wandering. Right. And
yeah.
and then I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm doing really great, but I'm behind a desk. And then I want to get into sales. And my manager, the guy that I was working for, was like, oh no, don't do that, because he didn't want to lose me. But at the same time, I'm behind, don't want to be behind a desk. I want to be out. I want to be like, I feel like I've got more to do than being behind a desk. And he wouldn't let me go down that. And I say he wouldn't let me do it because I was trying to do it within the same company, so I didn't have to leave, because I liked working with people. And he was like, nope, you can't go work with George. But I wanted to work with George.
So that's very interesting. I had a very similar experience with my first job out of college, where I was working at a magazine. So I graduated like in the thick of the recession, and there were no jobs. So I was lucky to get one. And I was in sales. I was a sales assistant. So I was an English and political science major. And I was like, oh, maybe I can wiggle my way over to editorial, because that would be more in line with what I studied and what my interests were. And I remember I met with HR and I was like, look, I'm obviously really grateful to have this, but I'm really not happy in this position. Like it was way more detail oriented, and there were lots of spreadsheets, and like a lot more math was involved than expected or presented to me in the interview. And I was like, but this is really interesting. And if there are any opportunities to like laterally move, that would be really interesting to me. Is that possible? And she was like, no, we don't do that. And it was just like a hard stop. And I was like, why? But it's weirdly common, I think. Yeah. So go on. I just wanted to share that because I've heard of other people in similar positions, and it's very weird and like disheartening.
I would agree. And it drives me nuts because you could find somebody that has a skill set. You might find somebody that could have been in the art department, but they could have been fantastic at sales. So there's what happened to helping people explore and find and maybe bring out what their gifts are and help them be really what they want to become. And so they're not working for you anymore, but they're still in the fold of the company. So if the mission of the company is X and people are behind that, why not help them find their path in the company? Because I don't know, people just get so focused on, oh no, you can't do that. Well, no, give people the ability to float around and try different things because they might find something else about themselves and then they become a better employee. And then
because they're happier.
Because they're happier. And there's so many benefits about that. If you have a whole team of happier people, the energy within a company is stronger. And then you're not having all this negative chatter or at the water cooler. Productivity goes up, it raises. So it's a very interesting thing. I mean, things that you know now as you've gone through life. So got into sales. I did some of those life things. I got married. I ended up having kids. I was living in New York City, ended up working with another company in publishing in Massachusetts where we had moved to. And I was working with this one company and I was VP of sales and it was a startup. And I remember waking up that morning and just thinking, dude, I had done a Ragnar relay race. If you've ever done one of those, it's 12 people in a van and you're all smelly after a 24-hour race and you're running 180 miles and each have a different lane. Anyway, so I did this crazy run. I got home and I'm supposed to get on a plane the next day for this business trip. And I literally was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm VP of sales. This company does not, like, no matter how many times we have brainstorming sessions, like they are just missing things. And I'm losing my reputation going and people in sales, into other magazine companies that I'm reaching out to as supposed to be my clients. And I picked up the phone and I called the CEO of the company and I said, I quit.
How'd that go?
He said, what? I go, yeah, I quit. I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. And then I called my husband and I told him. And he said, what? I go, I can't do it. I can't get on a plane tomorrow. I can't do this. And I have all these different business ideas. And one of the things that I really loved about what I was doing is I had done a small stint with a recruiting company and I'd started my own business and I just wanted to get back into having my own business. And I just said, you know what? I know I can do this and I'll figure it out. But I know that right now, like I am miserable. I'm not doing anybody's service. I like the people that I worked with, but that's not enough. I was missing all the things that mattered. Like I didn't feel valued. I didn't think that the company was really listening to direction. And there's a lot of things that I just felt that were just wrong. And I'm like, you know what? I just need to just say, uncle, like I'm done.
Yeah. You just reached your point.
Yeah. I reached my breaking point and I just was like, that's it. And I have these different ideas that I wanted to start doing for different businesses. And then I actually had gotten into network marketing and direct sales. And what I loved was coaching. I loved helping my team members. And it's still one of the things that I truly believe it's one of the things about network marketing and direct sales is that it's personal development wrapped around a product.
Oh, cool.
I learned that I was actually really good at coaching people and helping people grow. So that's where I got on this path. And it's been really amazing. It's really fantastic when you can have somebody say, it's because of you, I was able to move and and gain confidence. Or because of you, I actually had you're the first person that's believed in me, which breaks my heart. But then you see the change that they have. One of the girls that I was working with that I was coaching with, she was a vet tech. And because of working together, she was able to finally gain the confidence to go after a bigger position and speak up at the clinic that she was working at. And she elevated her career, elevated herself because she gained that self-confidence in her business. And that to me, I was like, done my job.
Right. Yeah. That's payment. Like you do need to get paid. Like money can't buy happiness. You do need it to live in this world. But that is another form of payment. No, totally. I want to go back really quick. I love the vet tech stores. One of my first jobs was actually in two vets offices because I was like, maybe I just love animals. And I was like, maybe I want to be a vet when I was 10. But I want to go back to something that you said, because I think a lot of people do wake up in the morning and they are I can't do this. I don't want to go in. But they go in anyway because they have financial responsibilities. They have kids. They're single parents or whatever. They have a ton of student debt. I know that's a huge issue with a lot of people my age. So I want to know, what exactly was the breaking? Yes, it's waking up saying, I don't want to go in. But for the person who does that every day, what happened to you that really made you pick up the phone and call?
I was VP of sales. That was my job. I was supposed to have another meeting with a magazine, and we were supposed to deliver on a sample. And I put that in quotes. And they said they couldn't deliver the sample. And I'm like, then what am I selling? If you can't deliver that, and I can't go back to the client and say I need more time, then I'm just collecting a paycheck. And you hired me. I also was doing digital magazines. You then hired me not for what you want me to do, but because you wanted to bring in I came with some clients. They were doing.
Oh, gotcha.
I was doing my own business with doing digital magazines. I said, so you wanted me for the digital magazines. It's not enough for me to make money. It's not enough. It was the realization that I was being told a lie about what the company could do and where I could go with the company. And even though I was VP of sales and I was getting all these meetings, I couldn't bring anything to fruition because the company was not delivering on what they said. So I just said, you know what? It was the breaking point. The breaking point was, I got to get on a plane. I'm going to have to pay a nanny to take care of my kids. And I'm not going to be able to sell a damn thing to pay for it.
It's pointless. It's
it's a waste of money. I would be better off being home. Now, I know not everybody can do that, because if you are that single parent, you need to have income coming in. You need that. So I was in a little bit of a different space because I obviously was gainfully employed, but we were counting on the salary that I was getting. So I just thought, you know what? I'm going to be paying the babysitter more than I'm going to be making. It just wasn't worth it. And I was angry. I was angry. I was bitter. And I just felt that I think there's a point if you're going into work and you're just going through the motions and you're finding that you have a level of anger, it is time to look for something else. And if you don't know what it is to look for, then pick up the phone and give me a call and I'll walk. But seriously, that's where really coming up and thinking that you're not stuck, no matter how bad it is, no matter how bad you are feeling, you can feel that. And I don't want to minimize that, but you shouldn't feel that way. And there are other things that are out there, and there are other places that will treat you well, that will value. And that feeling that you have, if you're not feeling appreciated and working super hard for what you're doing, there is another company out there that will appreciate you.
Yeah, there's no shortness of places to work.
Right.
There are so many companies, businesses, whatever, people willing to pay you. Money is just energy. And I think what you're getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, but going in with that negative mindset, that negative energy every day will just build and build on itself, and will only start to really depress you, physically and emotionally, and will just keep attracting that same energy towards itself. When if you just simply remove yourself from that environment, sometimes that's all it takes to just see other opportunities.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what you were getting at.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that was one thing that I didn't really realize, is that if you're going in with that energy, then it's also having as you said, it has the compound effect, but it also is going to affect you how your employer is going to see you. And you may not realize that. You may think you're doing it, but your employer is going to be like, oh, she's a negative. It has a totally different level of effect on your performance. And you may not realize that it's happening. And to me, the biggest thing that we can do is help people have that I'll have what she's having with Harry Met Sally, that vibe.
Oh, that's a classic. Don't say that. Everybody should see that. Totally.
So I'll have what she's having, because, oh gosh, she's having a good day right there. And the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibe not only attracts your tribe, but it's going to bring people to you in other ways. And it also brings your effect on your vibe also is what you're putting out there. It really manifests how things can come in and come out.
Absolutely. It can as much as it can attract your tribe, it can also repel your tribe, your intended tribe, or it can repel like your dreams, right? Okay, so you went through your marketing and sales. You had a quick stint at, it was a recruiting firm?
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Okay. So one question I had about that. So that in and of itself is a pivot.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, just for our listeners who want to pivot and don't know how or where or what to do, what led you to take that recruiting position? And because I believe from what I looked up, it was like with a hair care company. Is that true?
So I did two different stints. Okay.
Okay.
So one was actually in hospitality, where I was helping people who were sales managers and event managers in hotels and whatnot, or people in the catering industry get jobs. It was actually really great because every time I went out for dinner, if I met a waitress that I really liked, I was like, so do you want something else?
Easy peasy. And most servers are like, yes, I do.
And so, yeah. And then I was also helping, there was a company that was launching and they were a network marketing company, but I was helping them recruit people to come on board and it was great, but that company folded.
So I guess what prompted you to shift into recruiting?
I am a really good connector. And I love meeting people.
I get that. I can get that from you.
It's one of the things that I would say is a gift of mine that I like, that I can connect with people. So I was working for a company and I just was like, this is just not, when you start to see stuff and you know that you need to make a change. And a friend of mine said, hey, you know what? We're hiring. And I said, what are you doing? She said, we're a recruiting company and this is what I do. And I actually thought I was going to be working with her in the financial sector that she was doing accounting with. And so I thought I was going to be working with her because would have been really cool. But instead I got hired by this recruiting company to start a division for them. And I just thought,
why?
I thought she needed help.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. But why?
So I did. And then I actually went out on my own because as I was building this guy's business, I was like, why am I building his business? It's brand new for him. So why don't I just make it my own? And I did. And that was it was great having my own thing. And it was really great because I learned about the recruiting business and I learned about making the contracts and I learned in a short period of time. But then I was like, well, then I could just do this on my own. And the interesting thing was the guy who owned this business, he had a very set mentality of how the business should run. But at the time, I'm like, this isn't how business is done. As a recruiting business, you need to be out meeting people and networking and shaking hands. And like my day should be filled with events that I'm putting myself at, or I should be stopping off at different
like conferences and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I'm in the hospitality space. I should be going to every single hotel and restaurant and just dropping off a card and saying, hey, if you're meeting people, if you're looking, and he wanted us on the phone. And but people need to know and trust you and need to know me other than my voice. So we had very different mentalities on how business is done. And if you're and I kept saying, I would argue with him. If you're starting a business, if you're starting a division, I'm not going to do that behind a desk.
No. And I think what you're getting at is interesting because, so I have a background as a recruiter as well, and I did it for a long time. And I think a thing that you're tapping on is basically transferable skills. So like your sales, so much of recruiting is sales. That's essentially what you're saying. And I would just prompt people to look at if they're looking for a new career or job or position within their own company, whatever it is, looking at your skills through a different lens. If you are interested in X position, which is not what you're currently in, look at your resume as if it's that, right? And what transfers, what doesn't transfer. And there's probably a lot more that transfers than you think. And just seeing that will help you, I think, gain a little bit of confidence and direction on where to go. Yeah. And I love that you just did that. You were like, yeah, whatever. I already know how to connect with people. That's what recruiting is. Recruiting is talking to people. It's making connections and networking and all of that. And of course, there's like the talent spotting and all of that jazz. But a big part of it is just being a people person and getting to know people and putting yourself in front of them. So I guess that kind of leads to where you are now and what you're doing now. So you were recruiting for a little bit. You guys weren't in alignment, which is totally fine. And that happens sometimes. That doesn't mean that he's like a villain or anything.
I am grateful that he actually hired me and that I was able to learn. It's one of those things like, and it goes on what you were just saying, that we need to look at what our experiences are. And we're not to remind ourselves that we're not pigeonholed in the field. We actually, everything's transferable.
Yes, so much more than you think.
Right. You could be a janitor, but you know what? One of the things about being a janitor is that there's a lot of things that you do. You like to be clean, you're orderly, you're probably a really good people person because you know how to please other people and there's a whole customer service aspect. So maybe you can take that and go into customer service. There's so many things that you can do. A lot of it is building on our experiences, both what we've had for jobs and what we've had in our life and how that goes into a new position.
I love that you are grateful for that opportunity that you had and that experience, because what I'm getting from that is that really there's no experience that's wasted. Like every experience that you have in your career and personal life, but as we're talking about careers, there is probably something even from like your most, I don't want to say hated job, but like your least favorite job. Like you can probably cherry pick one or two things that you could be grateful for about, and that makes that experience worth it in some way.
I always like to say it's not obstacles, they're just opportunities. Just have to look at it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, quote. I'm going to quote that. So that kind of brings you here and now to what you're doing today. So I want to go through that a little bit. So you mentioned that you were coaching people in other jobs that you're in. How did you recognize that you were actually coaching?
One of the things that I realized is that when I would meet with people on my team to talk about what they were doing and where they wanted to go, I kept thinking, at first I'm like, am I being a therapist? No, I'm not. But I would start talking to them, and then it just was like this light bulb moment that I was like, I'm not actually just coaching them in their business. It's, yes, I'm teaching them, I'm mentoring them, but then I'm also digging to find out what's stopping them from, maybe it's stopping them from picking up the phone, or maybe it's a belief that they have about themselves and where did it come from? A lot of us have limiting beliefs. It could have been something that we were told. It could be, you're a girl, so your women are bad in math. Who said that? Smack that out.
Right.
What was that belief and where is that coming from? So because of that, then I started realizing, hey, if I want to do this better, I need to start leveling up and take courses on being a better coach to my team. And so that's where it started. And I started educating myself. So I signed up for lots of different courses. And that's where I'm like, you know what? I just want to do this. It's like the part that I liked the most about what I was doing in that part of my career. And again, not that I didn't care about the sales, but at the end of the day, what I enjoyed was the coaching calls that I was doing with my team members. And I'm like, I need to just do this for everybody. And I want to help more people. And then I can take and build on my experiences. So that's where I started. Okay, I can coach. It's the coach, mentor, and accountability. And then it's also the business and marketing that comes in there. So I can help people with their businesses and help them get over their things that are stopping them from, it might be what's stopping you from making those sales calls. What's stopping you from picking up the phone. I talked to a woman the other day who has this amazing business. She has enormous limiting beliefs about picking up the phone, about reaching out to clients. And I said this to her, I'm like, you have so much business right in the palm of your hands.
Yeah.
And it's in trying to show people to realize that. And then it's okay. So what can we do to help you get over that mindset of that you're bothering people by calling them?
Yeah. So this is interesting because if you're talking about cold calls, if that's where this is coming, if that was where that...
It's a coldish, warmish call because it's a past client or a past person who's purchased from her, but she hasn't picked up the phone called them before. But why not?
Right. So I have a couple questions on that because I think a lot of people have this particular, what you just said about, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to be a nuisance. People are busy. Why me? My first question is, how did you uncover that was a limiting belief she has?
We were talking about her business and I asked her I was asking about her clients. I said, how are you connecting with your clients? And she was talking about a client that had just come in. I said, what if you picked up the phone and called her. She said, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And she literally said, I don't want to bother people.
Mm-hmm. To which you replied,
I said, so why do you think you're bothering them? Why do they want to hear from me? And then I was like, well, why do they not? They just bought something from you. I just said, how would it feel for you if you went into, let's say, and I just used a big box store. I said, what if you went into a big box store and you bought toilet paper, you bought milk, eggs, and you bought, I don't know, let's say flour. I don't know. I said, how would it feel if somebody from the store picked up the phone and said, you know what? Thank you so much for coming in the day. And I saw some of the things that you purchased. I wanted to just thank you for coming in. And I'm curious, would you like a recipe that we just had that you could use to make with
whatever you buy? Yeah.
Like how would that sound? How would that feel to you? She's like, oh, that would actually be kind of nice. Yeah. Or how would it feel if the store that you just bought said to you, hey, you know what? I'd love to know when your birthday is because we would just love to be able to just send you a card or something. And no sales, like no asking for a sale, just a card. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Somebody a happy birthday and to thank people for their business. Or what if you you buy tires? What if the tire store picks up the phone and says, thank you so much for coming in and buying your tires. We really appreciate your business. I know it's just a nice thing. They're not selling you anything else. It's just the appreciation. And that starts conversations and that starts building trust that you're going to be like, you know what? If I hear somebody else that's going to go buy or looking for tires, I'm going to say to them, go to tire store X because they picked up the phone and they called me. So that little bit of business or that little thank you, that little thing that you did actually has it's that little compound effect because it's going to start to, are you going to see it? Is it going to happen right away? No, but if you're building that system into your business,
mm-hmm.
huge. So that was like how it all unfolded.
And I think you're saying something really interesting just about sales is a lot more than just the sale and the whatever, quote unquote, annoying salesy aspect of sales. Like, I think there's a big reframe around sales that has to happen for people before it clicks, where it's not sales, it's relationship building. And I think that language reframe can be really powerful for people who struggle with coming across sleazy or scammy or like whatever, insert the negative word there. Because I think that is a big block for people who have these great business ideas and are incredibly capable people, but struggle with picking up the phone or making, quote unquote, being salesy.
Yeah. When I first got into sales and having to pick up the phone, one of the biggest things that I was taught is do a little research and see what they might be looking for. But it's picking up the phone and asking people what their need could be, right? Or you had to do a little bit of research. But if somebody's been your client or if you can pick up the phone and just say to somebody like, hey, I was thinking about you, just wanted to pop and say hello. Or maybe if you're doing a cold call with somebody, if I've never met you before, I could pick up the phone and say, you know what, hey, Courtney, you are a coach. I'm just curious. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and maybe how we could potentially, if you like to collaborate, this is what I do. How can we have a conversation? I'd like to learn more about your business. I'd like to learn more about you. Most people are receptive. You may have to make 20 phone calls to get someone to respond. But the one thing that I always have to remind yourself and it's a good reminder to, I think for most people is you can never, ever say the wrong thing to the right person.
Oh, that's good. I love that. Yeah, totally.
You may have to get there, but it's all about making connections. So is it old school to pick up the phone and talk to somebody? Yeah, it is. But you know what? It's so much more personable to talk to somebody versus sending them a text or you get to know people. I feel like we just need to remind ourselves that it might be scary picking up the phone. It might feel awkward, but we have something to offer to people, and that's friendship and kids.
I'm like, what's the worst that could happen, right? They hang up. Okay, who cares?
You're not being the guy that's like picking up the phone. It's not the robocall that's, hi.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. No, it's, hey, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling you and you might leave a couple of messages. But
Yeah.
there's so much we can do, both also in businesses from a standpoint of being thankful for the business that we've received and the connections that we have. I like to think of what can I do to help the person on the other end of the phone maybe feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And confidence comes up a lot on your website and everywhere. So it's a big part of your coaching programs. Can you talk about why confidence? What does confidence mean to you? And how do you help people cultivate confidence and be honest with themselves about where their current confidence level is at?
Confidence is really important. And I think it's one of those things that when I started in business or when I got out of college, I would probably tell you that I was not a very confident person, even though I did well in school and all these things. But there's a lot of things about what I was doing or about myself that I wasn't really confident with myself. And so it's really important for me to help other people find that. So how do we do it? It's the small steps to get over some of those fears. What's that block? And so for me, I could make friends. I used to be one of those people that I could talk to people, but I had a really hard time, I felt, keeping good friends. And I was actually afraid in some ways to let people down or to really let people in, or I could talk to people in business, but yet at the same time, if it was personal, it was a lot harder for me. So what I try to do now is, and it was through like a lot of asking myself questions. It's uncovering through questions, like where is that lack of confidence? And I'm not going to dive into where it came from, like and where it started, where the root is, because at the end of the day, what really matters is just getting us over a hump and making us driving that. So it's the question, if it's phone calls, if it's picking up the phone, okay, let's talk about that. What can you do today to make one phone call? How is that going to feel? And then what if you make 2 tomorrow? Then we're talking about, and how did those reactions work? What did you get? Then we kind of work on building it up so that all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, I feel totally different. But then we're also looking at the energy level that we're having internally, because your energy that you have, I think also, I believe, can change how you feel inwardly and your own personal confidence. So then it's trying to feel like, where do you feel inside that may not be as happy, or where do you are feeling either something that's either an anger or some resentment? And let's try to figure out what that is so that is it a belief? Is it something so that we can help you overcome that? It's a slow process, and then it's actionable things that we're going to need to do to get over those. One of the things that I like to have people do is get a journal or just a pad of paper. Doesn't have to be anything pretty formal, whatever, but it's a judgment journal. So when you start to judge yourself or to judge others, start writing things down. Write those down. People can say, write down the things that are having a negative impact on you. It's like you're judging yourself. So just call it the judgment journal. And you realize if you're having a negative talk to yourself, if you're talking negatively to yourself, write that down, put it in there. It doesn't belong in your mind. So how we speak to ourselves really matters. So the judgment journal starts to help people see what they're saying to themselves and what they're putting out there to others, right? So if we can stop that, and then we can start changing the story, because the story that we tell ourselves is the story that matters. And you talk about is it true to you, or is it true out there? So if it's something that you're telling yourself, but it might not actually really be true, it's going to show up in that journal. You might say that you're not confident. Change it. Change your story. You are confident.
Yeah, I love that. And you also talk a lot about accountability. So how does accountability work? Because I think that's something that really works for people when they're open to it. So because I have friends that have issues with accountability, right? And I totally do that. Like we all do to some degree, right? And sometimes it's great if you have like an accountability buddy or whatever kind of works for you. But just in your experience, what do you find are the perks of having an accountability partner or coach? What does that entail? And what does that entail? And how do you find a good one?
Accountability is going to change for every single, like how people react to it. It's going to be different for everybody. So I ask people if we're coaching, I said to you, all right, Courtney, so we talked about a judgment journal. We talked about reaching out to so-and-so for a phone call. When do you want to have that done by? And you'll say when, and then I will ask, how do you want me to hold you accountable?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say to people, I can call you, I can text you. Well, if you want it done by this date, then I ask for permission to say, okay, so is it okay if I text you or call you on date and see where you are with that? Yes or no? And then the next time I meet with somebody, if we're coaching, then I'm going to say, okay, so what did you get done? What didn't you do? And then what got in the way? Let's say you get to appointments late. Okay, I want to get to appointments all the time, like 5 minutes early or whatever. How do you want me to hold you accountable, and how do you want to hold yourself accountable? What are you going to do? What are those steps going to be to do that? So it's a lot of asking. And to me, the biggest thing about being accountable is, yes, if you can have somebody that's an accountability partner, that's awesome. Because then hopefully you are setting up a time that you can check in. So even if it's 20 minutes, like Monday morning, okay, this is what I got done. This is what I didn't do. And then it's the why. What stopped? What got in your way from doing it? And if you really want to if you have a goal that you're working towards, or whatever that is that you're looking to accomplish, and something is getting in the way, then we've got to figure out why it's getting in the way. What's holding you back from doing it? Yeah. And I just find, like, when you work with somebody and you know that you need to get something done, you really will end up doing it, because they're going to because it's really stinky when you say to somebody, no, I didn't get it done.
Right. When you have to
verbalize it, like, no, I didn't get it done. Why? I didn't feel like it. I didn't make it, or the Oscars were on. I don't know, right? Like,
legit excuse.
Right? Or if there's something that somebody said, okay, I didn't get it done because my dog, cat, child, blah, 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 husband, whatever, partner. Okay, great. I get that. Okay, so now where is it going to show up? Where is it showing up on your calendar? And that's actually one of the things that I do with a lot of my clients is, if we're talking about accountability, I ask them to send me a picture of their weekly calendar. And I actually ask them, okay, so these are some of the things that you wanted to work on. When you send me your calendar, circle where they are on your calendar. Where are they showing up?
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to quickly ask you to differentiate between a coach and a mentor, because I think that there is a difference. And some people, like the word coach, we see consultant, we see counselor, we see mentor. What is the difference between a coach and
a coach? Is actually someone that's going to really hold you accountable. We're going to find out what is coming up with a plan to reach a goal. If you think about a coach with an athletic coach, I mean, it's different when it comes to a business and a career and life coach. It's creating that plan to move forward. And a mentor is somebody who's already been there. It's somebody who's been in your shoes that actually can provide a little bit more advice as to where you want to go. So there is definitely a difference in that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I want to dive a little bit into entrepreneurship, because you own your own business. So we talked a little bit about the recruiting business and whatnot, but what prompted you to really have the confidence, if I will, maybe I'll say, to start your own business?
It's a great question. So for me, when I'm going to sleep at night and I get up in the morning, I know that I have the ability to do my own thing, and the ability I only want to answer to myself. And for me, being an entrepreneur and deciding that I want to have my own business versus working for somebody else, it's my dream. It's what I want to do. And I'm the one that can have a direct impact on how much I want to work, what I want to work, and how I want to run things. Mm-hmm. I want to surround myself with people that are like-minded people that I can also learn from and energize myself off of as well. But that was, for me, deciding to have my own business was really just deciding that, you know what, it's my dream. I don't want to live somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
And I have to say, if you become part of a company, and this is the part that I think is really important, and I think it's like an issue with a lot of companies, is that we need to help people feel that they are part of something and that they can take ownership of the growth of something. And so I give the example, I was in a company and we had a really tight knit family team and it was very entrepreneurial. We were growing something and it was like the best feeling. And we all worked together and it was amazing when we saw this, it was a magazine soar. It was just such a great feeling because you just felt like you were making a difference and you really were appreciated for what you were doing. And it was like
you had a stake.
Yeah. It was an entrepreneurial mindset and shift in this company. And this, I guess it was more of a division within the company. And I will tell you that feeling of having that, then you want to bring it wherever you go. It's not a lot of companies do that. And so that is something that I wish I could instill in every single company because every company needs to almost develop an entrepreneurial mindset for the team that they're part of so that people feel valued and that they're really part of something. They've got a stake in it and they know that when they're going into work, they're making a difference and they're making a difference for other people. It's not just CEO's paycheck or the shareholders or the stakeholders. There's a bigger picture. We're serving more. And I think that gets lost. There's lost. So for me, I just wanted to be able to do that myself. Then I hope that I can help other people have that same feeling, whether it's internally or within the company that they are in, so that maybe they want to level up or they can level out.
Mm-hmm. And what has been like the hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
I think the hardest part about being an entrepreneur is the startup part as you're building things. I think, and there's no matter what business is, there's always going to be highs and lows, ebbs and flows, right? Everything has ups and downs. But when you're an entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest things is finding what you want and finding where you want to grow, finding that business that you want to do. That's hard. But then it's also making sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that you can rely on to ask questions and having a support team outside because you're it, right? You're like, you're one. And then if you want to stay one, you can stay one, but if you want to grow, then it's that growth. And having people around you that are good people to rely on. And honestly, for me, I have a coach. So I have a coach that I work with. And I think that's important.
Yeah, to have that kind of sounding board is just really helpful. What's the best part about being an entrepreneur?
I love building something and I love I just love the feeling of building something and growing. Yes, there's a lot of great perks about it. I love being my own boss and I love challenging myself. And I just feel like that's just it's having your own thing I think it's special.
Yeah.
And knowing that I'm helping other people is a great part.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious to know, you offer a lot of services. So you do mentorship, you do business coaching, accountability, career change, sales, personal development. Out of all of your programs, which one tends to be the most popular?
A lot of it actually gets all combined together. One of the things that I have a package that I talk about, which is it's called Stoppable Success. And literally it wraps everything together. And that's probably the most popular where I'm working with people and it's all working together. So it might be that I'm working with somebody on their business and their career and leveling up, what gets folded into that is helping them be accountable for what they're doing, helping their energy level. That's probably been the most successful thing. It's because again, they all work together and they all play off each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Was there anything that you wanted to mention before? I have some rapid fire questions that are just like fun. But before that what's next for you? Is there anything that you wanted to mention that we didn't get to talk about?
I love offering a free strategy session. So if anybody wants to go to my website, they can fill out the contact form and they can fill out a form and just do a free strategy session. But the biggest thing I also just want to share with people is that I think it's really important to explore hiring a coach, whether it's for your business, your life, your personal. I think coaching, seek people out for it because nobody tells you how to run your life and your business or is really there all the time helping you focus on whether it's your dreams for you, your family, yourself, and your career. And I think coaches offer such a great service to people. Yeah. And I personally wish that if I could go back in time, that I could have had a coach from the day I got out of college.
Oh my God, totally. Imagine how amazing that would. I'm like, imagine like what? Yeah, coaches weren't really like a thing when I graduated. They were coming up, but now it's like much more accepted. But yeah, that would have been awesome. Like what difference? Oh my gosh. So what is next for
Growing my business. Actually going to be launching a podcast ourselves. And we are also starting a small group, coaching group. So if people don't want to be one-on-one, but if they want to be with other like-minded business professionals, they can join in. So that's going to be coming up next.
Cool. Very exciting. Cool. Okay. So now just to wrap up a little bit, I love to do these like rapid fire questions and they don't have to, you can take as much time as you want, but it's supposed to be like shorter answers, but there are really no rules. Okay.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what is the best career advice you've ever been given?
Don't be afraid to try something new.
Good one. And what is the best life advice you've ever been given?
You can set your mind to do anything that you want to do. And you just have to set your mind to do it.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay. What is your favorite flavor ice cream?
I'm just going to say not ice cream, but sorbet, and it's mango.
Ooh, love it. What is your current favorite daily practice and why?
I actually will do some form of exercise every single day. And so whether it's walking, I'm a Peloton girl. I like to cycle.
Peloton for the win.
Yes, I do that every day. And it's more mental for me than physical.
Yeah.
It starts your day going. It is my form of meditation. A lot of times if I'm out running, I run, walk, whatever, or if I'm even on the bike, on spinning, I'm thinking, and I'm not always listening to what they're saying, but music. So I'm hearing music, upbeat music really matters to me. So it's my form of meditation.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. It's funny you mentioned Peloton. So I'm a runner and I'm actually from Massachusetts. So I grew up with seasons and everything. And like one of my favorite things is running in the fall or like even like early winter. It's so crispy and like wonderful. Yeah. Now I live in Florida where it is never crispy or cool. There might be like a week of coolness and my husband, see, it does get cool. I'm like, oh my God, stop. But when I was getting ready for our wedding, our wedding was in July. That's our anniversary. And I was like, it starts to get hot here in May, like summer hot, not like, ooh, spring hot, like hot. And I was like, running is not fun when it's 1,000,000 degrees out. Anyway, so long story short, we ended up buying a Peloton because I was like, I need this more for my brain and for like my mental stability and health than even like for physical health. And it's amazing. So there's no sponsorship with Peloton right now. Like we just happen to both love, I'm open to it totally. But yeah, no, Peloton is awesome. And I love that. Awesome. Cool. Jacklyn, thank you so much. Go check Jacklyn out. We're going to include all of her, how to get in touch with her and all of that stuff in the show notes. And thank you so much, Jacklyn.
Oh, thank you, Courtney. And I am so great that we are connected. And I think that there's some stuff that I would just talk more.
I know. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I'm so grateful for your precious time and energy. And if anything resonated with you, please feel free to share with a friend and subscribe. If you're interested in career coaching, I would love to hear from you. Email me at courtney@resume-careers.com and follow me on Instagram at Courtney Austin Page. Thank you so much and see you next week.